the first section, citing the literature on coloniality, I broadly discuss the genesis of a Eurocentric Western normative framework, starting from the Age of Discovery, which began with Christopher Columbus's expedition in 1492, its religious inspiration and racial underpinning, its relationship with modernity and rationality, its impact on colonized societies, and the rise of decoloniality as a response. In particular, I have focused on the impact of coloniality on nature, religion, language, knowledge, education and law, and the Westphalian origin of a nation-state. I have also taken the position that, owing to its Latin American origins, decolonial scholarship focuses primarily on European coloniality and therefore its vision of decoloniality is limited to the same. This means that every society should identify the forms of colonization it has been subjected to and outline for itself the contours of its decoloniality. In the second section of the book, in the backdrop of the global experience with European coloniality, I have discussed its impact on Bharat primarily in the realms of religion, caste, tribe, education and political infrastructure, covering the period between 1600 and 1853. This section also traces the origins of seemingly universal constructs such as toleration, secularism and humanism to Christian political theology. Their subsequent role in subverting the indigenous Indic consciousness through a secularized and universalized reformation is examined. I have also put forth the concept of Middle Eastern coloniality, since Middle Eastern colonization of Bharat preceded the European variant, the underlying idea being that Bharat's version of decoloniality must address both forms of colonialities to preserve its civilizational character in light of its history and continuing contemporary challenges. Further, I have explained as to why post-colonialism in Bharat has served to entrench both forms of colonialities and must therefore give way to decoloniality. The third section is effectively an extension of the second, but with greater focus on Bharat's colonial constitutional journey. This section covers the period between 1858, when the British Crown directly took charge of Bharat, and 1919, when the first British-made constitution for India, that is the Government of India Act of 1919, was passed. This includes international developments leading to the founding of the League of Nations by the Western powers that tangibly impacted this journey. The object of this section is to demonstrate that the civilizing and evangelizing tendency of the European colonizer that emanates from his coloniality impacted the politico-legal infrastructure established by him in Bharat, including a constitutional form of government. The other important object is to underscore the use of international law by European colonizing nations to universalize their evangelical mission. The other important object is to underscore the use of international law by European colonizing nations to universalize their evangelical mission. The discussion in this section of the book serves as the foundation for the sequels. The first sequel will cover the crucial period between 1920 and 1951, when the Constitution of Independent Bharat was framed and adopted and amended for the first time in 1951. The second sequel will tentatively cover the period between 1952 and 1977. I must caveat this endeavor by stating clearly that by no means is this analysis of the Constitution comprehensive. However, it is certainly intended to be a starting point from a decolonial perspective so that Indic consciousness can replace colonial consciousness. The attempt has been made to share my learnings in the hope that they trigger a much needed round of fresh and honest conversations, not just among specialists, but even and especially among the non-specialists who seek to make sense of all the noise being made around the identity of Bharat and its constitution. In the process, I have tried my best to let facts speak for themselves and have attempted to draw only those inferences and conclusions that are reasonably supported by literature. Whether or not I have succeeded in this exercise is of course for the readers and posterity to judge, applying a decolonial lens. As for the tautness and the rigidity that have crept into my writing over the years, these are occupational hazards of being a litigator. On the overall quality of the exercise, I leave it to the readers to decide if the book reflects my commitment to my journey as a learner.